Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Terry Shulman.
You know, Andy Warhol said that each of us will get our 15 minutes of fame. But what about people like me who need more? Hi, my name is Terry, and I'm a recovering attention addict. Hi, Terry. Come on, guys. Give it up. Jeez. Thank you. Okay, we'll try that again later. But now, my dad, he was at home in the spotlight. I got to tell you about him. Larger than life. He was a child prodigy pianist at the age of 4, soloed with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra at age 8, traveling the world, entering and winning competitions. Man, he was like a god to me. I remember laying on the parquet floor in the family room, underneath the grand piano, booming the keys, Bach, Beethoven, Brahms, Rachmaninoff. My ears wide open, my eyes closed, my body swaying, my whole being vibrating. Those were good times. But I have to admit, my dad's power, his talent, his popularity, sometimes kept me intimidated a bit, a little bit at a distance. I mean, how could I be as great as he was? I wanted attention too. I wanted his attention. Could I ever be like him? But Dad turned out to be human, all too human, and alcoholic. He and my mom would fight all the time. Instead of trying to get attention, I tried to stay out of the fray. I remember my mom saying that, he had a Channel 56 program teaching music appreciation. It got canceled after 1 year. Maybe that's why I started drinking. I'd go to school and have to use the bathroom all the time. I'm sure it was a cry for attention, but my teachers had no sympathy. That just made me want to go to the bathroom all the more. I also developed a speech impediment. The kids would tease me. I learned how to stay quiet and invisible. It was safer that way. When my younger brother was born, I got even less attention. And soon after that, my parents broke up. I was about 11. I took over as the man of the house. Mom went back to work full time. I'd come home, watch my little brother, clean up a bit, get dinner ready on the table. Mom would come home and vent about her day and constantly complain about my dad not paying child support. I'd just listen. I was a good listener. As a matter of fact, I think that's kind of how I got my mom's attention, just listening, being empathetic, keeping out of trouble, being helpful and reliable, essentially being everything my dad wasn't. Yeah. But by junior high, actually, I began to shine. Sports. Basketball, baseball, football, tennis, even gymnastics. I remember this bus would come in the summers to pick me and my brother up and the few remaining Jewish kids in Detroit. Buses out to the suburbs, summer camp. That was good times. But I remember in the early go, I felt a little different being from the city. I felt maybe, frankly, not as good as. But something was cool. When the kids found out I was from Detroit, they gave me some respect. They gave me some don't fuck with me respect. So, maybe being a little different was actually okay, kind of cool. Summer before high school, I joined a flag football team with 3 of my buddies. It was interesting. There were 4 teams in this league. There was an all-black team, an all-Hispanic team, and 2 all-white teams. Now, I'd heard the black team had won the championship like 5 years in a row. I think I even heard they hadn't even lost a game, so the other teams we could take care of, but we actually beat this one black team twice. We went 8-0 undefeated. Yeah, that was all that. Yep. And at the awards dinner, it was great. My whole team got up on stage. We even had one girl on our team. And they presented the league trophy, and I thought that was it. But then all of a sudden, there's like a little pause, and all of a sudden, I hear my name called. I look around. They're presenting me the MVP trophy. This little statue, my only trophy. A little silver guy with a Heisman pose. Woo, I held on to that. At the end of the evening, it was funny. I'm in the bathroom taking a whiz, when all of a sudden 3 black players walk in. A shot of fear wells up in me. I zip up quickly, clutch my trophy, and head toward the exit. One guy seemed to block me. He looked me in the eye. He said, "Hey, ain't you the one they call Bear? The one we couldn't stop?" I mean, I almost shit my pants. I don't even think I even said anything, but then he let me pass. I was relieved, of course, but I also felt like, hey, I got some respect. When I got into high school, somehow my focus shifted from sports to art. And I excelled at that too. I entered contests, won awards. I even got the only A in drawing class by this really tough teacher, Dr. Tenenbaum. He was grooming me to be the next Picasso. My classmates were envious. I was thinking of art college. In my senior year, I fell in love with this girl named Sally. Blonde hair, blue-eyed, a music major. And as soon as my life was taken off, it was like a plague fell upon me. My face broke out like a pepperoni pizza. I wanted to disappear. Sally broke up with me and ignored me and avoided me at school. I fell into a depression. I started to lose interest in art. I even skipped classes. And then one day, I'm at a store. I didn't plan this, but I shoplifted 2 pens and put them in my pocket. I remember feeling nervous, but kind of excited, conflicted, but kind of powerful. And shortly after that, I was back to the store or another store almost once or twice a week. I felt compelled to get something for nothing, anything. I graduated, gave up on art school, just went to state college. I turned over a new leaf, no more shoplifting. But college was a culture shock. I mean, it was so big and the classes were tougher than I had imagined. Over time, I struggled academically and romantically. And it was weird, but I started shoplifting again. Little things like cassette tapes, magazines, books, toiletries, even walnuts that I'd feed to the squirrels. One day I'm in a store. I've pocketed a cassette tape. I'm headed toward the exit when all of a sudden, bing, 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 bing. What the hell is going on? I am frozen like a deer in the headlights. All of a sudden, this woman from the back of the store comes and grabs me, hauls me back, sits me down in an empty room, and calls the police. Oh man, my life is over. I am so embarrassed. I don't know what's going to happen. Well, they let me go, and I did end up going to court. I didn't tell anybody. This was not the attention I wanted. I got put on probation for 6 months, slapped with a small fine, and about a few hours of community service. I'm never going to shoplift again. But as I'm about to graduate and not even know what I'm going to do, 6 months later, when my probation is over, I'm right back out shoplifting, like a horse breaking out of the gate. And I'm getting kind of good at it. But who am I going to tell? Can't brag about it. I drift for a year after graduating. My dad stops drinking and seems to be getting his life back together. He catches me at kind of a vulnerable time in my life and persuades me to go to law school. I don't want to go to law school. I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't know what I want to do, but not that. But I did want my father's love. I did want his approval. And I did want his attention. So I went. It was kind of cool in the beginning. I'm fitting in and talking to my dad about law. But then about 3 months into law school, I'm at my dad's house one night, and there's a big commotion after midnight. My dad was having a stroke. My stepmom drove him to the hospital, and by the time I got there in the morning, he lay in a coma. I was devastated. 5 months later, he comes home in a wheelchair, unable to walk and talk. Soon I'm caring for him just like I cared for my brother, trying to get through law school. Within about a year, it becomes apparent that my dad's never going to walk again. So he starts drinking again. I start shoplifting again. Within a short period of time, my life is crumbling around me. I don't see a future. I don't know who I am anymore. And for the first time in my life, I was thinking about killing myself. Unfortunately, that scared the shit out of me. So I actually came clean with my mom and dad, separately. I spilled the whole beans, the whole kit and caboodle. I said, I'm depressed. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if I can graduate law school. And this was the hardest part. I said, you're not going to believe this, but for the last decade or so, I've been shoplifting. They were shocked. Now I've fallen off my pedestal. I get into therapy a week later. And about 3 or 4 days after that, I find myself in a supermarket. A bottle of champagne tucked away under my overcoat. I head toward the exit, and all of a sudden I hear a deep voice. Sir, can you come with us? Somebody shoot me. I mean, here I am, 25, midway through law school, in a suburban Detroit jail cell, my wrist handcuffed to a concrete wall. They finally let me go, gave me a court date. I walked about 3 or 4 miles home. I had to tell my mom the next day. Broke her heart. Somehow, though, I did continue with therapy and started to peel back the onion layers that were my life. It was hard. And as much as I was making some progress, I kept shoplifting every now and then. My therapist got furious with me one day. He says, I don't understand this. We've been working for 6 months together. You're a smart kid. You know right from wrong. It's like you're addicted to this. His words stunned me like a taser. It made sense. Maybe I was more like my dad than I thought. I muddled through law school, and one day I see this article in the paper about a local support group for recovering addicts and codependents. I find out I'm a codependent too. I muster the courage to show up at the meeting, and within about a month I confess my addiction. I'm worried people are going to look at me funny, and a couple people did, honestly, but they accepted me. They welcomed me. I felt supported. I felt safe. I mean, this was kind of the attention I'd been looking for. I graduated law school and, as you might guess, gravitated toward criminal law. Yes, I give real meaning to the phrase criminal attorney. But, after a couple years, I know this is not going to be what I'm going to do forever. All of of a sudden, a friend calls me up one day and says, "Hey, I want to invite you to a personal growth seminar." Well, I got nothing better to do, so I go one night for the intro. I was hooked. It lured me in. I was very intrigued. Within a few weeks later, I'm taking this whole weekend. And all of a sudden, I looked at my life a lot differently. I really saw maybe there's a different way to live. A few months later, I actually started a support group of my own. And I called it CASA, Kleptomaniacs and Shoplifters Anonymous. Yeah, no shit. So I get this church in Southfield, and Wednesday night we're meeting. I'm meeting. And the only problem is I'm showing up 14 consecutive Wednesday nights, and I'm the only one at the meeting. Finally, I get a Detroit Free Press reporter to write an article about shoplifting. It's right around Christmas time, 1992. People start to trickle in. Within a few months, we've got a core group of 4 or 5 people. It's exciting. I feel like I'm doing something important. I feel like I've got a calling. I remember inviting my dad to one of the early meetings. It was like I wanted him to see something that I created. I wanted him to be proud of me, even though it was admittedly a kind of an odd creation. A few weeks later, he asked me if I'll go to Europe with him in search of a miracle cure for his stroke. I know it's a pipe dream. It's hard to do, but I tell him no, I can't go. He finds a buddy to go with. A week goes by and I haven't heard from him. I go over to visit my mom. The phone rings, she picks it up. There's a noticeable silence. She turns to me with tears in her eyes. "Terry, your dad's dead." The other shoe has finally dropped. My dad's death leaves a huge void in my life. I have to admit, I'm relieved, but I'm also fucking pissed. I never got his attention, now I never will. There's no future for me as a lawyer, just like I feel there was no future for him. So I go back to school and eventually earn a master's in social work. I start work at a Metro Detroit substance abuse clinic. Shortly after that, I'm promoted to director. Then I meet Tina, the love of my life. We get engaged, buy a home together. And then I quit my job. I want to finish writing this book that I'd started, a little bit about my journey and about shoplifting addiction, because there's nothing out there on this topic. And I know I'm not the only one who shoplifts, because there's way too many electronic gates out there, and I do not shop that much. But within a few months of quitting my job, everything comes to a halt. I'm broke, I've got writer's block, and my confidence is utterly in the toilet. I start having panic attacks. But if there's one thing I learned, I humble myself and I get back into therapy. I get on some meds, I ask for help from family and friends, and I even came back with my tail between my legs to my old job, working part-time. I didn't burn any bridges, so if there's any lesson here, don't burn any bridges. But my wife never gave up on me. Neither did a few of my friends. I mean, they believed in me. They said, "Don't give up, write that book, finish that book. You will start your own practice one day." So about a year later, actually, I did. I completed my first book, and I got it published. And I called it Something for Nothing, Shoplifting Addiction and Recovery. Now the only challenge is, how do I get it out there? Well, I get it on Amazon, and I get a little bit of feedback from my websites, a little bit of interest here and there. But I don't know, maybe I'm grandiose, but I'm thinking big. I'm thinking, what's the biggest forum for me to go on with my book? Well, You guys know. It starts with an O. Yeah, well, so I get a contact at the Oprah Winfrey Show, and I mail them my book. And lo and behold, 9 months later, I'm having a baby. An Oprah baby. Woo! Tina and I are flown into Chicago, picked up at a limo at the airport, dropped off at the Omni Hotel on the Magnificent Mile, and wined and dined on the Oprah tab. I feel like a star. The following day, we're picked up and driven to Harpo Studios, where we film a segment about shoplifting addiction and women's secret lives. It was great. You know, people ask me, so how's Oprah? Well, let me tell you, she's all that and 5 bags of chips. As a matter of fact, one time I heard a woman say to her friend, "Girl, you need Jesus and Oprah." A month later, the segment airs. I got like 25 of my friends and family at my house with me and Tina watching it. I mean, it's surreal. There I am on Oprah's yellow leather couch talking to the Queen. My book cover flashes up on the screen for a few seconds. Of course, the only thing I can think about is my shirt collar that's sticking out from under my coat. But anyway, it was good. It was a really powerful segment. I sounded professional. I sounded good. I mean, and how much more attention can I get? You know, they say everything that Oprah touches turns to gold. It's true, because a short time after that segment aired, I get a ton of clients ringing my phone, and that allowed me to finally leave my job and start my own practice. Now that's 2004, and a lot has happened in 10 years. I've written 3 more books. I've had many more TV appearances, which are all cool, nothing like the Queen. And I've gotten to travel all around the country with my wife, speaking at various conferences about shoplifting addiction and some other addictive behaviors that I also treat. I mean, it's great. I mean, I end up getting more attention than I ever could have dreamed or planned. It's funny how things happen. But I do see how intoxicating attention can be. You know, I'll have 25 years clean from shoplifting in March of 2015. And our CASA group is still going strong. Now I find out, though, fairly recently, that I'm a recovering attention addict. And I found this out by my wife and my good friends. You know, they drop little hints like, "You interrupt a lot." Or, you know, you got a good sense of humor, Terry, but you seem to tell sometimes inappropriate jokes at inappropriate times. And you kind of ramble on, you know, kind of. My wife has a great saying now. She says it, okay, land the plane. And yes, I do like to be the center of attention, if you haven't noticed. You know, my dad got attention, whether for his piano or for his attorney work and for his alcoholism and then for being in a wheelchair. You know, but after it's all said and done, I mean, I remember thinking recently, you know, I don't know that I'm competing with my dad, but, you know, I feel like maybe I've gotten about as much attention and accomplished about as much as he has in some way, in a different way. Maybe even more. All I know is I don't want my life to end like his. You know, my dad was a shooting star that came crashing down to earth. You know, sometimes I still wonder, is it better to be ordinary than extraordinary? The other thing about him is, you know, there were a few moments right before he died where we shared just a few quiet, simple, even ordinary moments where, like, his larger-than-life persona melted away, and he wasn't the star pianist or the accomplished attorney. I mean, he wasn't even the alcoholic. He was just my dad. And that's all I ever wanted him to be. So I'm in recovery from attention seeking. And it's a bitch. But I know I'll stumble here and there. It's okay, I can laugh at myself. I hope you can too. You know, it's not the worst thing to be, but, you know, recovery is a journey. Like they say, it's one day at a time. Sometimes it's 1 minute at a time. And my 15 minutes are up. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Terry Shulman.